Senator Duckworth, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to say thank you, a deep and profound thank you to both Admiral Gilday and General Berger, to you and your families for your extraordinary lifetime of service to our country. I do want to associate myself with Senator Sullivan's concerns that the current Navy budget proposal significantly undercuts Marine Corps amphibious capabilities. In fact, I think it undermines Marine Corps doctrine at a time when we need to be looking at the Indo-Pacific region and a shift towards a forward deploy island-based force. To cut back on LPDs in particular, I think is a misjudgment. That said, I do want to talk about logistics in the Indo-Pacific. General Berger, I have appreciated your leadership among the service chiefs in recognizing the challenges posed by sustaining forward deployed troops in a contested logistics environment, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region, which is characterized by island formations and huge swaths of open sea. And I've been ringing alarm bells about this problem, especially in contested logistic environment, for years, not just because of my own experiences or because U.S. Transportation Command is in Illinois, but also because I truly believe that for the sake of our service members and for the credibility of our deterrent, we have to get this right. General Berger, in what ways does this year's Marine Corps budget request support contested logistics, and how does this benefit the Marine Corps, and how does it benefit the Joint Force?
We've had some long discussions on contested logistics. I'm going to miss them. First of all, the structure, the laydown of where we have pre-positioned supplies and parts and munitions and equipment across the Pacific, across the world, we have to relook now quickly. It was built for a different time frame, under a different set of circumstances. So where we have afloat and ashore pre-positioning has to be revisited, has to be changed, and there's funding to do that. But that's going to take that's going to take a different look and some tough decisions in the next few years. A second is that I think the platforms that we use to move that equipment, those supplies around. Here, the good news is everything from the 53K to the medium landing ship to every other conveyance that's unmanned that the CNO is working on and we're working on that's going to move that around, we're going to need it all. It's going to be planes, trains, and automobiles. We also have to educate, train our logisticians in a different way, which you've talked to me about before. It's not business as usual for them because it's not an administrative move of materials. Even the way that we contract has to change because its peacetime exercise approach is not going to work in a conflict in a contested environment. Lastly, I would say the resilience part. If it comes to a conflict, there's going to be some degradation across the board. How fast can we come back? And that gets into applying the same methodology for kill webs into, as you pointed out before to me, logistics webs. How do we create logistics webs that look like kill webs?
And I think LPDs are going to be an important part of that. And this budget does not support the number of LPDs that I think that we need. A critical vulnerability for any military is the logistics tail associated with delivering operational energy to its fielded forces. Both our readiness and our allies and partners' readiness would be bolstered by reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and employing more diverse and renewable operational energy sources, as well as seeking more creative and cooperative ways of supplying operational energy to U.S. troops and to our overseas partners. Secretary Del Toro, General Berger, how much could we gain from cooperating with our allies and partners in Europe and in the Indo-Pacific to improve our logistics availability and distribution? What efforts in your budget request work towards operational energy security and resilience?
Thank you, Senator. It's an incredibly important topic. We have significantly improved, I would say, our alliances across the Indo-Pacific for this very nature. We're kicking off with Bala Katan, for example, 23, with 17,500 Marines right now working side by side with our allies and partners. The ability to actually move our forces forward and provide the logistical bases that they need. As you know, the Secretary of Defense just came from the Philippines and negotiated 4 additional bases as logistics bases in the Philippines as well. In the north, as close to Taiwan as one can possibly get. Providing operational energy Investments to those bases is always critical. We have in the Marine Corps, as another example, in Albany, Georgia, for example, where we have become zero dependent on outside sources for energy, for example. The same thing applies to Miramar in California, for example, where we actually have provided energy out to the local communities. So these are all investments that are necessary. They're also necessary at sea as well, too. For many years, biofuels have been very, very expensive, and it's been hard to get the price point of biofuels down to the point where it actually makes sense to be able to invest in that. So we have, in the President's budget, commitment to continue in the R&D effort that's necessary to try to discover that biofuel that will provide the biggest return on investment to our forces.
General Berger?
For us, it's not as much of a money issue as it is an operational, tactical imperative. We cannot fly in batteries, fuel the way we used to. It's not going to be possible, not going to be practical. We've got to find other ways to power our equipment, vehicles, everything. And there's money in the budget to do that, but it's going to take time and your support.
According to DOD's own reports, 50% of all casualties during the war in Iraq occurred during convoy operations, and 80% of all convoys were conducted to move fuel. We need to do better, Chairman.